Come join in on the fun and grab your glue gun. It's the Preppy Crafty Girl Show.
Hey everyone, it's Jonna, the Preppy Crafty Girl, and I am here for another hashtag Trinket Tuesday. Today we are doing part 2 of how to attach your items, turn your trinkets into fun little charms for jewelry, for bag jewelry, and for your junk journals. So let's get started. In part 1, I showed you how I used a Dremel tool in order to drill holes in plastic and wood objects. But not everyone has a Dremel tool, so I'm going to give you a couple other options. Some of the other things we're going to talk about are adhesives that I use. And I just want to let you know that this is an open collab. So if you want to share your trinkets, how you use them, how you would attach them, please do. It's hashtag Trinket Tuesday, and then go ahead and join in on the fun and tag me so I can see what you're doing, because I want to know what everybody's collecting, how they're attaching it to items, what they're using, and things like that. So please go ahead and tag me and join this community. Let's get this going. All right. So a couple of the things I want to talk about, some adhesives that I use are E6000. Now I buy, and I just want to let you know, everything will be linked below, pretty much of everything that I used, and unless it's a vintage item. But I use the E6000. Now I buy they come in a 3-pack, and the reason why instead of I get the 3-pack is they don't dry out. They're, you know, by the time you use it up, they're just easier to manipulate. They do make a bigger one that's probably more cost effective. However, in the long run, it'll dry out before you even get down to using it up. So I like to use the smaller E6000 tubes. The next thing I like to use is Glossy Accents. Glossy Accents is acid-free and non-toxic. It's a clear dimensional medium. This is a product by Ranger. It's great for using on all kinds of items. So I use it for gluing paper to glass, or I'll use it to make something appear like it's got glass over top of it. Hence the name Glossy. So anyway, you will see I will be using this item later on in my project. Okay, that's adhesives that I prefer using when I am attaching things to my items. Another thing you can do is we're going to talk about how we can attach things with eye screws. So you can pick up eye screws in the jewelry department. You can also find them in the hardware stores. You can find them online. I picked up these colored ones at Hobby Lobby, but I'm sure you can find them online. They're super small, but they come in all kinds of fun colors. So I do have a bunch of those. They come in different sizes. So I just want to share some different sizes that I have. So I have these little tiny ones I got from Hobby Lobby. Then they come in the next size up, and then they come in even a bigger size. And this bigger size I got over in the wood department, so of my hardware store. So those are just a few items that you'll want to have on hand when attaching certain things, and I'll go into that later. And some other items on how to attach are going to be what's called bails. And this is, these are metal. They come in different colors. They come in different metallics. These are just ones I had on hand. And what you're going to do is you're going to adhese these to using an adhesive. I prefer the E6000, but you would use whatever you prefer when you're gluing metal to metal, or metal to plastic, or metal to glass. So you're going to want to have some bails on hand. The next thing you're going to want to have is some bulb pins or garment pins. And these are just shaped like a gourd or a bulb, and they have a pin at the end that opens up. So that's another way that you can attach your items, especially if there's already holes in it or you've drilled holes in it. Another one is, these are by Tim Holtz. I'm not sure what he calls them, to be honest. I think hinge clips, if I'm not mistaken. And they literally have a hinge and it snaps in there and you can attach it using that. Now, if you don't care for the color of the metal, you can always paint it out. Some other items you'll need is some wire. So this is some jewelry wire. It's a very thin wire. You can wire items on if you can't drill holes in it. You can always, or you can't attach a bail. You can always wire an item on. So you're going to need some of that. Here's some ball chain. You can find them in all different lengths. You can find them in big, long lengths that you cut up yourself and then you add the little attachment at the end. They sell these little attachments by themselves. This is another great way of attaching items. Like if you wanted to do a cluster and then you wanted to hang it on your long charm, it's a great way to add it on there. And they come in all different colors. Like I have a white one, I have several colors and different metals. You'll need some jump rings. Now I found these are colored jump rings. I prefer a 6mm, but it's gonna depend on the size of your item, on the size of the jump ring you need. So here are some color ones, color coded, and then I just have metal. They come in all different kinds of metallics and all different kinds of sizes. These I believe are 8mm. Okay, so, then you'll have some other items that you can use for attaching. So we have like plastic clips. These are over in the children's jewelry making area of your craft stores. And then they also have these things that I remember using these as when my kids were little, and they just kind of snap into each other and create a chain. So that's another great way of attaching, and then all you have to do is attach one to the top like this, and then you can dangle them all down and attach this to your journal. So we have those. Some other things you're going to need are these are called head pins. Now people get these confused with eye pins. A head pin has a flat bottom on the end that will hold your item in place if it's small enough. The hole is small enough. If the hole is not small enough on your bead, it'll just go right through and fall off. So you're gonna need what is called a seed bead or a small bead. These are just a smaller bead. And so what I would do then is that's going to create the stopper for the larger bead. So you just string on a smaller bead at the bottom, and then you attach the larger bead on top of that. So another thing that you're going to need for this when you're using a head pin is you are going to need a looper. You can loop it yourself, but there is this great little tool on the market that is called a jewelry looper, and it has a hole. I've shown this for years on my channel. It has a hole here on the end. It has a bar here and a bar there, and you're going to thread it in from left to right. So you're going to go under the first bar and over the second, and then you're going to come through, which sometimes you miss it, and you got to make sure you get it through that hole or it's not going to loop it. Hold it and loop it. And then all you're going to do is squeeze, it cuts it, and then creates the loop in your bead. Now when you go to attach it, you will need a pair of pliers. You can use needle nose pliers, you can use round pliers. There's all different pliers on the market. And all you're going to do then is you're going to just squeeze it in a little bit tighter, and you're going to close that loop, the loop off, so that it will not come undone. Okay, and then you have your little bead charm. The next tool I would like to show you that you might need, the other thing is you might need a wire snip. If we're going to use something like some jewelry wire, then you will need a wire snip. Now, some pliers have the wire snip as part of the plier, which, you know, for decades, I never even knew that was there. And yeah, learn something new every day. So with something like something like this that I can't drill a hole in unless I want to have it hanging upside down, I could take the wire and just wrap it around the top of this item. So that's where wire would come in handy. And then you would just twist it, twist it, twist it, twist it, twist it, twist it. And then what I would do is I would snip some off, and I would bend in the tip there really well so you don't have a poker. And now you have almost like a head pin. So then what I would do is I would take my looper and I would go ahead and put the wire through once again, all the way through, snip it, and it makes your loop for you, and you're good to go for hanging it on something. Okay, so that, look, I should have done a little bit better, but I hopefully you can see how that's done. So this is a very handy tool. Again, all the tools that I'm using are going to be linked below. Okay, next, what you're going to need is, what I would recommend is this tool right here, and it is a it's a manual drill. This is really excellent when you go to set your wood items and you're needing to use the little eye screw. So what I would do is I would take my item, and something like this, I think it would look right if I went around it. There's really no thin area to drill a hole. So instead, I'm gonna go into the top of it, and I'm gonna manually, and you're gonna take this, you're gonna hold it in your palm like this. You're gonna take the point of the drill, and you're just going to then use your fingers, and you're going to drill it in. And this is where it helps to put it down on the table, and all I'm doing is I'm literally just screwing it into the top of the dog just a little bit to get it going, and that will pre-drill your hole so that you can then take the eye screw and just begin to finish it out and go ahead and screw it in. Now with something like this, that's holding really well, but I may take a little bit of E6000 before I screw it in, and I would place it on the screw part of the eye screw before I would screw it in, or I would put a dab of it in the hole with like a toothpick. So that is how I would attach that to something like this. So this is another great tool to have in conjunction with the Dremel, because this just would it would just start to set the hole, and this is a little too much power, even though it does have a up and down as far as the power goes. You could just use this, and it also works on wood. So same thing, I would take it and I would just go ahead, while applying pressure, drill in to the wood, and I would pre-drill a hole so that then all I would do then is take the eye hook and I would just start to screw that in, and it would screw into the top of that. Okay, the next tool that I have, and this is one of my favorite tools, is, believe it or not, it is called a bottle cap hole punch. I will link it below. And you just do what it says. Okay, so you have the bottle cap. Now this is pre-smashed bottle cap, but I've done it on old bottle caps. I've done it on cork bottle caps. You can do it on any kind of bottle cap. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to take the tool, you're going to sandwich the bottle cap in here somewhere to where you can then just squeeze it and pull it out, and you have your hole good to go for the bottle cap. Now, the cool thing about bottle caps and getting these, which I will link below, is that you can take a 1-inch punch, you can place it in the middle. You're just gonna take the glossy accent, you're just gonna put a little bit on the bottom there, just kind of swirl it around, and then you're gonna take your piece and just put it right fits right in there with a 1-inch punch. And if you also want to add some dimension, they make these glass dimensionals that you can place on top of it and it'll give it some dimension. Or you could just fill the whole space in with the glossy accents. So what I would do is I would put some, just a little bit, you don't need a whole lot, and I would spread that around just using the tip. I'm not adding any more to it. I would tap it to get rid of any holes, bubbles. And you can also take a pin if it's got bubbles and you can just pop the bubbles if you see them, if you don't want to have any bubbles in there. So you pop them and then just put it right down. Now it's going to look a little bit foggy at the moment, but eventually it will dry crystal clear, and then you have this really cute little bauble that you can hang on your charm. So I think that that is all that I really have to say. I did use I wanted to see if it worked, and it does work. I don't know how long this will last if I keep pushing it into metal, other than a bottle cap, because this was kind of thick. These are old game pieces from a Monopoly game, so I don't know. It went through, but I had to take my pliers to pull it off, so I don't really recommend this for that. I probably, for something like this, I would have taken a smaller bail, or I would have done the wire around its neck. Yeah, so that is all I have to share as far as attachments. If you can think of anything else that you would use, I am open for suggestions, and I will, like I said, I will have everything linked below. And now I'm going to go ahead and switch over from this into making my charm for Candyland. I already kind of pre-drilled things earlier, and I want to go ahead and show you how I take my items and I turn them into a really cute bag charm. And I can't make up my mind if I want to use these things and then attach everything. I think I will, because it's very colorful and kind of whimsical. And yeah, so just hold 1 minute. I'm going to clear off what I have on my table. Again, hashtag Trinket Tuesday, and tag me at the Preppy Crafty Girl. I want to see what you're up to.